there, I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. And yes, that is the Chattanooga Choo Choo in the background. Now, we may have a couple of special guests tonight, or they may decide that it's too cold for them to put up with other late night stuff. So here we go. Right now, we have Josh is under the weather, so right now it's just me and Bill tonight. And Bill just vanished, so it's just me. So, I do believe that I think, okay, well, got these buttons going. Let me see here. Got no comments or anything. One of these days, I've got to come up with a sort of a walk-on comedy routine for these situations where I can tell jokes and banter a bit until things just start happening again. But we had a very, very excellent Stupid O'Clock tonight. Had a couple of special guests, and we're hoping that one or two of them will come over this way here just shortly. But until then, you're pretty much stuck with me, and I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit ragged tonight. I do have a sinus infection. It's not the dreaded plague. It's a much more minor problem. I just cannot breathe through my nose, but everything else is fine. So, hello, Ace. Nice to have you here, too. Nice to see you over in the other show as well. Oh, wow, I sound like this. Okay. Bill just announced in the group that he is having technical difficulties, and he will join us shortly whenever the technical difficulties run out. Yeah, remember my 2-hour time limit. Yeah, well, if you can think of a way that I can be interesting for 2 hours, you let me know, Ace, because I'm going to run out of material here just within half an hour or so. Just trying to banter and what is the word? Vamp. That's the word. I heard that one earlier tonight. That's a very nice word where you're trying to fill time as you're waiting on all the important stuff to happen. All right. Now, about the background photograph. That was taken several years back at the Chattanooga Choo Choo when LibertyCon was regularly being held there, and it was at that time one of the best places to have a convention. They have since changed their business policy, their mission plan, and now it is no longer a good place because it is no longer a hotel. It is an apartment complex. So a lot of history there. Down the tubes, basically, as far as conventions go. And Bill is back in here, so we'll bring him in.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties.
It's quite all right. It's quite all right. I've got to be Johnny on the spot here if I sneeze again and get the camera and microphone out before I blow anybody's eardrums out with as explosive as my sneeze is going to be. Definitely.
No, every once in a while, Samsung says, you need to sign back into your Samsung account. And if I don't do that and ignore them, then they make life a living hell for trying to do a show.
Yes, indeed. Now, I don't know if Stephanie's going to come across or if Nick is going to pop in, but
I haven't heard from Nick. I sent them both a link. Stephanie said she will be here in a bit. She did message me on that one. So, but
Ace, we have had the opposite problem. It went from mid 70s last week to the teens this week. So, and at the moment, it's about 45 degrees outside. It's going to drop down to about 32 by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, where I'm at. But it
Yeah,
still feels like it's, minus 50 in the house. Uh,
I'm thinking that we kind of live in a bizarro world the last couple of days because of that, because we're not getting anything here. You guys are getting it all. But what we might get this weekend that I was talking to Greg earlier about on Stupid O'Clock was that whatever yours pushes up our direction won't be in the form of snow. It's actually going to take it away and just make it rain again. So
yeah. Yep.
I'm hoping the earlier the better for it to do that on Saturday, but right now some of the models are showing maybe not until late afternoon, early evening before it does that.
Well, you're exactly right. What happens is our area gets a lot of warm air from the Gulf of Mexico coming up through New Orleans and on up across Alabama and then drifts across Georgia. And then it goes up and hits the colder air coming down from Canada, from, as they said, from the jet stream, because evidently the jet stream will kind of snake around from time to time and make a lot of things that were not ordinarily cold be pretty cold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now
One
I
of
don't
our
mind it in
local
the summertime, but the wintertime, I like being warm. But
one of our local meteorologists, Cheryl Lemke, was talking today about the wind chills that said that about 5 minutes with exposed skin will start the frostbite process. And I believe it. I went out there just right at dusk and had to refill the suet feeders and tube feeders for my little wild things that come to feed. And I thought my fingers were going to fall off before I got done. And I wasn't out there, but about 3 minutes total trying to get everything done as quickly as possible.
we got a lot of feral cats outside the dog pen. We've got
Mm-hmm.
the domestic cats that refuse to come in the house. They like being in the dog pen, and then we've got two or three that will come on the porch and snuggle up together on the screened-in porch. But I am just a little bit worried about uh, the raccoons and the possums that regularly climb into the dog pen and eat the cat food, or eat the cat food outside for the pen for the feral cats, and uh, they're they're facing some chilly temperatures, but they
Mm-hmm.
are well furred and they are evolved for those chilly temperatures. But it doesn't make it any easier knowing that they're supposed to be able to get by when it's really uncomfortable for human people, much less
Mm-hmm.
all the animal people around here. Uh, I have been very lucky. We any haven't had any deer crossing the road on my way home from work, whatever. And that's where I'm at. There's plenty of deer out there. Uh, it's just I haven't seen any uh, getting up on the road where they're a danger to somebody in an automobile. Uh, haven't heard anything out of the local black bear. He has not been seen for about 2 years now, so we don't know if somebody's harvested him or if he's moved on to a different part of his territory. The coyotes are absent, which is weird. They should be all over the woods. Uh, we should have uh, several family of deer in the backyard. Haven't seen them this year. Uh, haven't seen the little red fox that has been known to come by. Haven't seen any of the pheasants or quail that we normally see running through the yard trying to get to the woods. Uh, Lindsay told me she was outside one day last week, one of the warm days, and she saw the Canada geese going north again. And I'm going, oh, they're going to turn around about halfway and come back because uh, winter ain't anywhere near over. It's just barely begun. So,
Yeah, we have some geese here that stay here all winter long, and sometimes it looks like they're flying up north. They're just going to one of the lakes near here, but our deer population, ironically, well, I guess right at the beginning of bow season,
yeah,
there were a lot of deer carcasses on the roads and on, oh, well, both 150, well, not so much 150, but Interstate 74. But now, nothing at all. I've only heard coyotes out since I've been here a little bit over a year, one time this year. And when I lived across the street from Jenny at the Yellow House, it was every night. It
mm-hmm.
didn't matter what time of the season it was. So there apparently was a den not too awful far. And Jenny's got feral cats outside, I think 4 of them, the last count that I know. And she has the little Rubbermaid tubs with the little doorways cut into the side of them and the heating pads inside.
Yeah,
And that's what we did over at Laura's dad's because of the neighbor cat Ranger, who seems to think that he lives there more than he does at his actual home.
mm-hmm.
He would be sitting waiting for us on the front porch if we were gone to the auction or going up to Chicago or wherever. And a couple times, the poor thing was soaking wet. And
Yeah,
so we made up a box very similar, and I cut the hole in it, bought the heating pad, and her dad put everything together up there on the porch, and it fit just kind of perfectly underneath one of the metal chairs, lawn chairs on the front porch, so the wind's not going to blow it away. And when we went Tuesday morning to pick up her dad, right as we're pulling up the driveway, there's Ranger sitting in his box up there waiting for us, and
yeah,
of course got the heat in there. So I'm hoping he's going to fare okay. But he's got 2 different places that he can get out of the cold now. So that's
Well, the local gas pipeline company has been doing some construction work on their pipeline here, which is like barely 100 yards away from my house. So I'm thinking all that heavy machinery up through all that way has spooked the deer and the coyotes and everything else,
good.
got them out of the area. So that means I don't have to see a deer that lost an argument with a car on the side of the road, and I don't have to have a deer lose an argument with my car.
Yeah.
I really hate that. I think in my entire lifetime, I've only hit 2 deer, and I think that's doing pretty good for 65 years. But it's not the kind of thing that you want to go through. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to go and hunt something and harvest it and bring it home, but just to have something run out in front of your car while you're trying to go down the road, it's like that's traumatic, as well as very damaging to the vehicle.
Yeah, quite a few years ago, my sister-in-law had a little small Hyundai. She was driving it on Interstate 74 and had a deer jump out in front of her, and it was just too close and too short amount of time for her to do anything. She escaped injury, but it totaled the car.
Mhm.
The car was real bad shape.
I used to own a Chevy Silverado that I bought from my sister, and she had loaned it out to my brother. And while she had loaned it to my brother, uh, two deer had leapt out in front of it in this area, so it had a few dents and scratches and stuff. And then after I bought it, I had two deer just leap out right in the road. No way to stop, and it got some serious damage there. Uh, After the second one, I no longer tried to repair the uh, the grill or the hood latch mechanism. Uh, I just replaced the radiator and then got a padlock and a chain and chained the hood down so it wouldn't fly up while I'm driving down the road. Now, I once got pulled over from that because a couple of cops were watching me drive to work in broad daylight, and they go, "Oh, his hood's about to fly off." They pull me over and go and look. And I go, "That hood ain't going nowhere. There's a steel cable and chain and a padlock locking that sucker down. It just because I'm too cheap to replace all the mechanical parts and make it look pretty, it does not mean that it's going to be unsafe.
And
They
typically, it would hold it better anyway by
oh
doing that.
much better. So they didn't write me out a ticket or anything.
My brother had a 73 Duster with a 440 underneath the hood. It was set up for racing, and that's how he had the hood on because he had a perfectly good hood latch, but you couldn't trust it
Nope.
for driving the speeds and everything. But
If you're going to drag race, you need the little pins and the clamps.
cotter pins and
Yep.
um, closest I ever came on a deer hitting a vehicle of mine. Um, I had this little um, Mitsubishi Mirage that had a fairly sizable bumper on it. I was coming back from Kennecott uh, Cove County Park. They're um, kind of northeast of me. And coming down a farm road, county road, and I had one jump up out of a little wooded glen,
Mm-hmm.
and he caught the front driver's side bumper of my car as I was coming up, totally flipped over the top of my car, landed in the ditch on the other side. I pulled
Oh,
over to check on the deer, and of course, by the time I got out of the car and got around to the back of the car, he he got up and jumped up into the cornfield, limped about twice, and then he took off.
uh,
And I came back. I thought, okay, let's survey the damage, and not a scratch. It was one of the probably the luckiest or blessed times I ever had with it because that car, even though it was a mid-sized car, it would have done some sizable damage if I was just a little bit quicker.
yeah. If you had just been a little bit more irresponsible. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I had a situation like that, but I was on a motorcycle. I was going to go and visit a couple of friends of mine going down the road. Big steep embankment on one side. It's fall, not cold, but a little cool. And a great big deer came down that embankment, hit the road, and stood right in front of my motorcycle.
Oh, man.
I'm doing about 60 miles an hour, and I'm going, time to put the brake on, I do believe. So,
Mhm.
and basically, I managed to slow down enough to where that deer got himself in gear and ran off the side of the road before I managed to plow through the spot he formerly occupied,
Mhm.
which would, I mean, you talk, this deer was bigger than the motorcycle and me combined, so it would have done some damage. I probably would have wound up in the hospital. I was slightly nervous for the rest of my short ride that day, but I count myself lucky. Deer got himself in gear and moved out the way before I had a wreck because you don't have much slow down and stopping power on a motorcycle. It's not like a car. You can't just lock it down and slide. If
Mhm.
you lock down a motorcycle and slide, you're going to wind up taking
And
some
deer,
skin off of you.
and deer versus motorcycle. Motorcycle usually loses.
Yes, I
Just
wouldn't.
about.
No, this was a big deer. I mean, like I said,
Mhm.
it's bigger than me and the motorcycle combined. So this was an old boy.
Hit the deer, and then you fall off, and then there goes the deer down the road on your motorcycle.
Wouldn't put it past him. It was a good motorcycle.
Well,
Uh,
around here, and I'm certain probably around your area too, whenever you see the deer up by the road up ahead, I'm not usually too concerned about that one, but the one or two other ones that might be around as well, those are the ones I'm looking for.
yep. Where you see one cross the road, there might be 5 or 6 more.
Hmm.
Excuse me a minute. I'm going to have to kill the camera here and sneeze.
Oh, and I will say Gesundheit, or God bless you, or any other blessing I can think of for that. But yeah, it's one of those things, especially now since all the areas are getting all the mixed rain and freezing sleet and snow and everything else. You got to understand that pavement's not dry, and that stopping time is going to be a little bit different than that dry
Yeah.
pavement stopping time.
Yep. And the thing is, there. I would want to say that the deer are overpopulated here, but they the state has raised the hunting limits in order to try and uh, cut back on the surplus population, so that
Hmm.
they don't out outgraze their food supply. Because if they do that, they're going to get sick and die anyway.
Oh yeah.
So it's much better to have fewer but healthy animals than lots and lots and lots, but they're getting sick and dying anyway because there's no food supply for them.
Well, and there's so many diseases out there too. Illinois had a situation several years ago uh, that they were having to warn hunters about during the season about some of the deer um, just not being good, and they wanted the deer gone, but they didn't want them harvested for meals. And I've been sitting here trying to think of what that disease was that was affecting
Well,
the Illinois deer population.
it would have been something that would have been not only bad for the deer, but made the when they were harvested, it would make them unhealthy for
Hmm.
humans to eat
Oh
anyway.
yeah, yeah. They were not good for consumption by any
Yep,
means.
yep. And that happens. That happens. There's these natural cycles in wildlife where you get a boom and bust, where everything's good and they overpopulate
Mm.
and they go through the food supply. And as you said, there are these weird diseases that crop up where some new deer disease mutates and becomes
Mhm.
a, a deer COVID or something, where it's not safe for anybody to eat them.
Yeah, I remember they had county conservation officers from all over the state actually going out and looking for these deer and bringing them in just to try to get them out of the population because it was spreading the disease through the other population of the deer. But
Yep. There was something that my dad taught me about. I believe it was the rabbit population. Hey, Stephanie.
hi,
Hey, I'm here.
Stephanie.
Joe Dog wanted to get caught up, so I'm a little late getting into the show.
Oh, don't worry about it. I
Okay.
knew that was going on. Believe me.
Okay.
I had
We,
to kill the audio from that so we could do this
yeah,
one, and I wouldn't get distracted by the extra voices.
Okay.
But I'm a science fiction writer like you. I'm used to extra voices in my head. I shouldn't have worried. We were just talking about uh, the boom and bust in the local deer population and how some of the new diseases has come along and stuff like that. But it's me and Bill. We talk about all kind of stuff.
Chris was in here. It'd be all music all the time.
If Chris was in here, yes, he'd be plumbing the depths of my musical knowledge, as shallow as those are. But so, all right. This new book that you've written with a co-writer that's in the
Division 1 series.
Division One series. Yes, please do tell me a little bit more, because when we were at Hallowcon, I didn't get a chance to pay strict attention to what you were saying.
So basically, Tony Thompson, A.G. Thompson, is a budding author. He's very good, in my opinion. I'm working on trying to get some of his standalone novels published. Um, and so I've been editing some of his manuscripts and whatnot, and talking it over with him. And he approached me. He's a Division 1 fan, which for any listeners that aren't familiar with it, it's my take on the urban legend of Men in Black and UFOs and aliens and all that kind of stuff, and I have a lot of fun with it. And so he said, "Hey, listen, just for the fun of it, I have this idea. How do you feel about fan fiction?" I'm like, "Well, personally, I don't have a problem with fan fiction. If you want to write fan fiction, I think that would be kind of an ego boost for me, frankly." Um, I said, "Just for the fun of it, what's your idea?" And because he was basically telling me that he wanted to write fanfic, and so he started telling me about it, and he had a good idea. And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. That's got to be canon." I said, "It's your idea. It's my characters in the universe. How would you like to co-author with me?" And so that's what we did. And so it's book 14 in the series. It's called The Bounty Game. And the concept is, having established this universe and its various and sundry laws, now suddenly you have several entities enter it from without, and their abilities don't follow anything we're familiar with. And so the scientist of the main partnership, Omega, is totally, it's like, this can't be, this is not real, this is not happening. And her partner Echo is all, "Yeah, honey, but look, if it's this, then this, And you've got to be a little more open-minded than that. And she's like, no, 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 you don't understand. That's not possible. And he says, well, what if they're really not from around here? She says, what do you mean? He says, not even from our universe. And she's like, let's not go there. So it turns out that the big bad of that particular book is from a parallel universe that's really nothing like ours. And we introduce another set of heroes from yet a different universe, at least in part, who are sent to chase the thing down and kill it.
This is the only one that I do not have in the series yet. I will be rectifying that mistake shortly. Have to wait till I bring my Kindle home from work before I can do it. But
let's just say that the big bad has abilities capable of sterilizing the planet, and nobody in the galaxy has currently has the ability to stop it.
we got to find the kryptonite for this bad guy.
Yep. So yeah, it's and there are it came out around the end of September, 1st of October, and it's a little bit of a horror story. There are some very gruesome deaths, and because this thing is so powerful, be forewarned, not everybody makes it out.
Well, I have read almost everything you've written so far, so there were some gruesome deaths in the Sherlock Holmes series. Believe me, the microwave weapon,
True. Yeah.
that was not something that would be easily grasped, but and could be, well, was more than a little horrific, but certainly plausible. And Bill, you don't have the slightest idea what we're talking about.
No, but it put me into mind of old time radio show called the Inner Sanctum Mysteries. And it was talking about a virus cloud, is the best way I could describe it, that was sweeping across the earth, and people they couldn't stop it. And when it hit somebody, it literally turned them inside out. Now, the Inner Sanctum Mysteries was really good for their sound effects back then.
Oh, yeah.
And they did this
radio show,
sucking, stretching type sound effect
of somebody being
where the person was getting literally turned inside out at the time. And you didn't hear much of a scream or anything, but just this sound effect was enough to give you nightmares.
That sounds, if I had to guess, that might have been based off the Peter Shields, The Purple Cloud, which is very, very old classic sci-fi novel. And that was a very difficult read for me. I had to put it down and pick it up several times. It's a variation on the Last Man on Earth. But it didn't have Vincent Price to make it fun, so
yeah,
it took me a while to wade through that one because it was a very, very serious sort of take on that premise. But
Yeah, and I can't remember. I've been trying to remember the name of that episode of the Inner Sanctum Mysteries that episode or that it was about, and it's probably a good thing that I don't remember it. But
yeah, it lets you
there,
sleep at night, don't it?
well, yeah, as long as I don't listen to those things. There was actually another show called Lights Out, Arch
Yep.
Obler's Lights Out, where at the beginning of the show they tell you turn your lights out, you know. And of course, dummy like me, I would turn my lights out and listen to it, which of course it added to the effect of your uh, strange imagination, my paranoid imagination as well, and that it made their stories that much more credible.
Well, that's the way that radio and to an extent today's audiobooks work.
Mm.
You don't have the visual. You have to create it inside your mind, and it depends on the cast voices and things like that. If you've listened to many audiobooks that were a full cast rather than uh, one narrator going through all the voices and everything, although those are really well done too. It's a different thing between a radio play and
Oh,
and a single reader.
and I've been listening to James Earl Jones uh, do the audio version of the Bible on pray.com. Oh man, that
Yeah.
is so good. If you're the type that if you get more out of listening to the Bible as opposed to physically reading it, I highly recommend. And if you don't want to download pray.com onto your smart device of your choice, you could actually, I found some of those on YouTube that you can listen to.
This
There's
would be a
one.
good way. This would be a good way to try it out before you
Right,
actually.
right.
Yep.
Before
Yep.
you, because pray.com is free, but then past a certain point to get to some of the goodies like that, or there's recently now a football player that's doing it on theirs too. I can't think of who that is, but anyway, yeah, to get to access those, of course, you got to do the paid version, which is not much, but yeah, there's actually a series of 18 YouTube videos of James Earl Jones um, doing the audio version of different books and that in there. So yeah, try it out there first.
Back in the day, right after Star Wars came out, he was going on these tours. And he'd be riding around, and they had a CB radio, so he'd be using the Darth Vader voice talking on the CB radio. And the truckers asked him to stop because it was scaring the piss out of him.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah, but this was a story that he told, so I know it happened. Um, let's see. Last night I was doing some just cruising around through YouTube, and I found a let's see, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was a series that was done sort of like the Manor House series
Mm.
from PBS, but this was Edwardian Farm, and that's one of those. That's one of those things where it's the later part of the steampunk era, if you're into that. But this is just after Victorian. Edwardian was a much shorter period because he didn't rule anywhere near as long, but it was in between what would you say, Stephanie? 1899 and 1920 or thereabouts.
Thereabouts, yeah. Um,
That's a
I
rough,
just
rough
not
guess.
roughly 1900. I think. You know what? I've got my computer up. Let me just look it up.
It was just long enough for the Beatles to start wearing those Edwardian suits when they first came on.
I think they were born with those.
Yeah.
Okay, the Edwardian era spanned the reign of King Edward VII, 1901 to 1910, and is sometimes expanded to the start of the First World War.
Okay.
So Queen Victoria died in January 1901.
Hmm.
So yeah.
My wife has never gotten over that. She is British, so yep. And this thing was, if you've ever watched the Manor House series where they have different eras, they have actors come in and actually not only cosplay but live in the conditions of that era with no modern conveniences.
Now, are
This,
you referring to the Manor Born, or is that something entirely different?
that's something entirely different. No,
Okay.
Manor House. There's a Victorian, Edwardian. There's World War One period. Is stuff like that. Basically, it's just people who are either researchers or reenactors, or um, at the very least, actors and actresses that want to do period drama stuff. So they would actually go live in this place. They would not be allowed to access modern technology whatsoever while the show is being filmed. And it might take 6 months to film the show, but they would go through all this, and it had to be as historically accurate as the BBC could afford to make it. And the BBC naturally has a talent for doing that sort of thing. This is a show about um, farming in that sort of vein. This one that I watched last night, they had a couple of heavy horses pulling a plow. Guy rolls up with, in the modern day, the last remaining diesel powered tractor from the early Edwardian period, when they were trying to convince farmers to buy these tractors instead of using horses. Naturally, the horses made the tractor look like a piece of junk, except when they got to some of the stuff where they had to use a power takeoff from the tractor to power some of the grinding mills and things like that.
Hmm.
In which case, if you had it sitting there and it was just being used as a big motor, it did real well. If you tried to replace a couple of horses plowing, not,
Not so much.
nope. There's a reason why it is measured in horsepower, because horses got some power and they're able to not get stuck in the mud because they can displace their weight a little bit more evenly than a huge chunk of heavy metal trying to crawl across the ground on some cast iron wheels. Anyway, I was so impressed with this one episode, I went ahead and bought the whole series. It should be delivered next week sometime. I'm looking.
Now, it almost sounds like you're talking about a reality show. Is that what it is, or is it scripted?
It's a reality show basically.
Yeah.
It's not their uh, the researcher. These are historical researchers putting themselves in these positions. It's not just a
Okay.
bunch of actors and actresses. It's actual uh, published authors and historians, and they're trying to recreate as much as they can of the flavor of that time period.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen the ones that you're talking about, but I think I've seen one that was done like more maybe like 1600s, 1700s, maybe.
Yeah, they had something like that. I think it was they were castle builders. The ones that stood out were there was a Victorian farm, there was a uh, wartime farm, which I'm assuming covered not only World War One but World War Two, which I could not get because they're on PAL format, and I'm in the U.S., so I'm stuck with NTSC unless I want to watch it on the computer, which reads everything. But my wife would not be able to just pop it in DVD player in the living room and be able to watch that. Now, this one that I ordered was the whole 12-ish, 12 episode series, but it was on NTSC, so we can watch it on any U.S. DVD player.
Well, if they did the 2022 version of this, they could incorporate the brand new John Deere driverless tractor that John Deere just introduced. This is not something that's in the works. This is ready for sale today. Now, they said that the tractor would have to be driven from the pole barn, wherever that it's kept, to the field. Everything else was done with your phone. You get it set up. The tractor sends you back a signal that says all clear, and then it takes off by itself to do the planting or whatever you're, putting down anhydrous or whatever it is that you're going to do with it.
I
guess
can't see any problems there.
Well,
I can't see any problems there.
It's like those Roomba lawnmowers that people have, and there's somebody in Danville that has one. I've seen them several times over the summer being used. They use GPS to track the property, and then also they use the Google Maps to find all the trees and different things, let alone what is actually on the piece of equipment itself that'll go around certain objects.
I can just see having to get the tractor out and go and pull the robot tractor out of the mud because it didn't know enough to get out of the place where the water stands all the time next to the woods. Mm-hmm. And you really don't dare to drive through that area or try and plow it unless it's a really dry summer. Oh Lord, I can't tell.
Case IH has some tractors that actually have the triangular tank tracks on the back of them, and they got the big shovel on the front. Obviously not designed for farming in the typical sense of farming, but more landscape and excavation work that the farmer would do, and they're gargantuan.
My dad was always impressed with it was built by the same company that builds the white Freightliner transfer trucks. It was a white was the brand name of the tractor. Mm-hmm. It was freaking huge, and it was always 4-wheel drive, and it had the same size wheels on the back as the front. And this thing, it was articulated in the middle too. This thing looked like it could tow the Taj Mahal all the way to Paris if it wanted to. That was how big and bad it looked. And Dad said, it's a good thing that nobody will let General Motors use their diesel turbine engines in these things. Otherwise, nobody'd ever buy any other tractor than that. And,
well, all I know is I can remember a very intelligent man who knew how to run earth moving equipment managing to get the backhoe stuck in the quicksand in the corner of the field.
Yeah.
And nearly pulling over several trees trying to pull it out.
Using a cable and winch. Yep.
Yep. So, it's one of those, yeah, I'd like to see what one of those self-driving gizmos would make of that. And then I think, well, no, that's an awful lot of money down down in the quicksand.
Yeah, really. You think something that size to the axles, it's going to be there for a little while till you can get something to pull it out.
Yeah, Bo.
I can't tell you how many times I got the dump truck or whatever stuck trying to go around where Dad was combining or plowing or whatever. And he just shrug and sigh and go over there, hook the chain up, pull everything out. And we're talking about a dump truck loaded with about 6 or 8 tons of soybeans. And he's pulling it out with his little bitty tractor and doing, if you don't stay away from the wet spots, you're going to do that every time. Look where the water stands. Don't drive through there. But a robot can do that.
Turn around, don't drown.
That's it.
You can't tell either one of us have been farm kids, can you?
We don't trust what we can't drive.
Hi, Chris. I just now saw him in there.
Yes. Hey, if you ain't at work, Chris, get in here.
Yeah, I sent you a link, Chris. I'm not sure if he's at work or not, but no, on Stupid O'Clock earlier, the picture that I posted of Homer Lake, my older cousin Sarah Heiser chimed in that she could back up that info on that. She has a farm, and it was her father's farm just north of Homer Lake, and it is a centennial farm on there. And I can remember Sarah's dad, and he had John Deere. I know the green tractors. Mm-hmm. That's all they had all their life, and what he drove and how antiquated that looked in the late 70s compared to today. Everything they got, air conditioning and radio and internet and GPS, everything, does it for them.
What was the red tractors? Was that International Harvester?
Yeah, Case IH, International Harvester, and also Farmall. Okay. And they're all part of one company now. Originally, it was Farmall, and then Case came in and acquired them, and then acquired International Harvester maybe the same time or just a little bit later.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a fan of Big Red, which irritates my cousin, but that's how it is. It's like being a Cubs fan or a Cardinals fan. You're either a Deer fan or a Big Red fan.
Oh, I don't know that I'm a fan either way. It's whatever I've got to work with, I was just trying to remember, because yeah, John Deere is green, and I was trying to remember what the red was. So.
And Chris just chimed in, said he's an MFer, a Massey Ferguson man.
Massey Ferguson, that was the other one, yeah.
Okay.
I knew there was another one floating around out there. I just couldn't think of what it was. So.
Well, they up here in oh Lord, is it Decatur, Illinois? They have Century of Progress every year, and Max Armstrong and the now retired Orion Big O Samuelson, that's been a part of farm broadcasting for, well, Orion Samuelson, he started and stayed with WGN out of Chicago for over 70 years before he retired about 4 or 5 years ago. And then Max Armstrong took over. And Orion wrote a book about farming, pertaining to his family farm, but basically it's an overview of the evolution of farming over several, 7-8 decades. And it's just magnificent.
Well, having spent most of my life as a tractor jockey, most of my life, hell, my first 20 to 30 years of my life. Of course, I've kind of escaped that now, and I miss the tractor every once in a while because there's a lot of freedom and just, I'm just going to put the bush hog on it and go out here and mow this field, and y'all don't bother me for about 3 hours. All right. You can get some meditation done that way. It's quite a serious method of introspection. So
I think mowing in general, whether you're talking about being on a tractor or a rider mower or even just a push mower, is therapeutic. At least it always has been to me. And I know when we go in the summertime up to Chicago to mow her dad's property, and that Laura won't let me touch the mower. And it's just a self-propelled Troy-Bilt push mower, but she loves to mow. And so I have the duties of operating the battery-powered weed eater and all that while, kind of following behind her as she mows. But yeah, she absolutely loves to mow, and I get it. I totally get it.
Why is the country song "She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy" running around in my head right now?
Could be possibly bleed over from my brain because that's my mom and dad right there.
Well, I was thinking of a different tractor song, but that's not one that we can recite the lyrics to on here.
Oh, really?
And I bet Chris Walker knows the tractor song I'm referring to. It came out. Now I'm going to have to Google it. Since John Scarborough is not here, I'm going to have to play John.
Damn him.
I'm telling you, I don't know what he's good for anymore. But
he goes to bed before midnight. What use is he?
I wish I could. I can't do that anymore.
Me too. Even when I'm not doing a show, I find it very difficult to get to bed before 2 in the morning. And that's when I have to go to work the next day. Of course, in my defense, when I get home from work about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I usually wake up in my chair about 5:30 or 6 o'clock without ever knowing that I had gone to sleep.
That would do it.
Yep, I'm turning into my dad, and I can think of worse fates.
Oh, the other evening, of course, I'm dealing with having lost Daryl, and so I for a while there I just wasn't eating much at all.
That's typical.
And I'm starting to get back into it a little bit. I'm trying to keep stuff in the kitchen that I can just, pop in the microwave and eat. And that helps. So the other day I had fixed myself a nice hot dinner, and I ate dinner, and it was a little bit cool that day. And so I threw I tossed a throw across my legs, and I wound up with a cat curled up on my legs, and I woke up about an hour later. Hot
Mhm.
food in the belly, a nice comfortable throw, a kitty on top of you purring, and it equals instant nap, apparently.
Um, I've got a shortcut on that. All I got to do is sit in a chair. I'm getting to that age, and like I said, I'm turning into my dad. But I can think of worse fates. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
man. Um, now, Bill, that song you're looking for is not International Harvester, is it?
No, actually, I uh, I made a faux pas.
Oh,
Uh, it's
we'll let it
it's
slide.
not. Yeah, it's it's not called the Tractor Song. It's called the Rodeo Song by Gary Lee and the Showdown from 1982.
All right. Well, I'm not familiar with that one.
And yeah, the lyrics in there
A little risque.
a little risque, and alternate left, alternate right. Come on, you bleep and dummy, get right, step right. It's 40 below, and I don't give a bleep. Got a heater in my truck, and I'm off to the rodeo. And I bet Chris has heard that.
Kinda.
And
Although
w-
Chris does have a widely varied musical taste. So
yes, yes, and that's why I mention him, because that song actually it came out as a 45, and the truck stop that used to be here in Oakwood, that 45 happened to be on
Tom,
the
much like
in the
what
jukebox,
Mhm.
and we would regularly play it. Of course, only certain time of the evening, and making sure that there were no youngins around,
Mm.
because dropping the F bomb throughout the whole song.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But very funny song though, and that it wasn't like dropping the F bomb such as in the way that they would in a rap or hip hop song,
Oh, yeah.
But this is a
As
funny,
punctuation, basically. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I have to put up with that at work. It's industrial language where basically it is an alternate form of punctuation. You can tell which cuss word is a comma or a semicolon or a period or an exclamation point. But you'd be amazed at how easily that it rolls off the tongue when you've been in that environment for half a century. So
I had a friend growing up. I still know him. He's still a friend on Facebook. He not only used the F word for a verb, but for an adverb and a pronoun and a noun, and you can kind of guess the rest.
3 is a magic number.
Mhm.
I don't think those are going to wind up on Schoolhouse Rock anytime soon.
Nope, nope. Uh, Not at
Although
least.
I am tempted now that I've thought of it.
Maybe a special Schoolhouse Rock video for Uncle Carl's Secret Humor Group. Maybe.
Well, I'd never be able to post it to YouTube, I'll tell you that.
Nope.
Oh dear. Oh dear. So, how is the little kitty?
Oh, my little kitty?
Yeah.
He is curled up on my feet right now.
Hmm.
And he's just kind of vegging. So I think he's watching the TV actually. So but he's keeping my feet and legs nice and warm, I tell you that.
Well, that's what they're good for.
Oh, they're
Yep.
very good at it. So
Laura Tuesday dislocated her shoulder on the way back, and I had to finish driving the rest of the way back from Chicago. And she has since been to the doctor. It's slid back in place, but she's got her arm in a sling for a week. Cannot work, and gonna, despite all the X-rays and everything she's had, they're going go in and have MRI done and a couple other things to try to figure out what to do about it, because she's had this problem since she was a teenager, but this was the worst that ever happened. So she has 3 kitties at her house, and they knew immediately that something was wrong. And the one kitty, Willie, which I'm sure Dan heard me talk about him before, he's about 16, 17 years old. He's diabetic. He has to get 3 insulin shots a day. And he's just the most lovable cat in the world. I love Willie to death. Whenever we would go over there for Christmas, he'd be up on my lap, and he's definitely a lap cat. And he's been sticking by Laura's side this whole time because he knows something's not right, and they sense that.
Yep, they sure can. We've got a couple that will. They don't want to be in the dog pen where they're protected from the coyotes. They want to be semi-feral. But when I go out to go get in the car to go to work in the morning, they'll be standing at the door of the screened-in porch, and they'll want to come in to the porch, but they won't go in the house. And it's like, it's okay, Diddles, you need to learn how to use a litter box again, because he's been an outdoor cat for I don't know how long, and he has forgotten how to climb into a litter box. He'll get right up next to it, but he won't go in it. And Lindsay has to go out and clean up everything every morning. I swear, every morning, after I leave for work, she'll get out of bed and start a pot of hot water for her tea. She'll go out and feed the cats, and if there's any light, she'll go around and pull weeds and kudzu and whatever else, and just whatever else takes her fancy. She doesn't have to do it. It's not like I told her to do it or anything. Not that she'd listen to me if I did tell her to do something, but she takes care of everything, and then she'll feed the ones that are on the porch, and as soon as they eat, they want right back off the porch. They don't want to stay. They want right back off. And when it's warm and I go out and sit in one of the lawn chairs out there near the barbecue grill, I wind up getting surrounded by all the cats. So I'm sitting there. I've got a cat in my lap. I've got 2 of them rubbing against my legs. I've got 2 others that want to get petted. I've got a hummingbird that comes down and goes, "Hey, Dan," and flies back up again. And I'm going, what am I? The weirdness magnet here or what? But
you're the animal.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Well, you were talking about with the raccoons and all that earlier. Jenny's 4 feral cats that she has outside, but she puts the food out there for them, and that the raccoons will come up from the woods, what I used to refer to as the 100th acre woods. And anyway, they're right next to the cats, and they're here's cat, coon, cat, coon, cat. Yeah, and it's not that they're tame, but they apparently put up with each other enough that they all get fed. And then when the food's gone, the feral cats will go back in their box, and the coons will go back in the woods, and that's that.
We got one that comes up. I swear, he's taller than Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. This raccoon is about as tall as a 6-year-old child, and he'll get in the cat food and delicately eat something. Look up, stand up, all on his hind legs, look around, nothing here. Okay, and eat some more, and over and over and over again. It's so cute, but this thing is huge. I've had dogs smaller than him.
I've got a friend that lives in North Huntsville, and they have a lot of cats, indoor and outdoor cats. And the outdoor cats, they feed them on the back deck. It's Fritz, Dan.
Hmm.
And periodically they have a raccoon come up and they've named it Not a Kitty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I remember when they named one of them No More because they didn't want no more kitties, and then Not a Kitty showed up,
mm-hmm.
and Not a Kitty be sitting there eating, and No More be looking and going, I ain't crossing him.
Uh-huh.
Couple
He
years after we moved to Illinois from Cherokee, um, Dad on the front porch had big, huge wooden planter box, and in the spring and summer he would have geraniums and cascading petunias planted in it, usually something colorful. And in the wintertime, um, Dad would just put out scraps and stuff, and whatever animals would come up, birds and coons or squirrels or whatever, to eat out of it. We had a possum one year that would come up, and he would always come much later. So Dad, after all the other food was gone, he found this way in the back of the cupboard, an old jar of peanut butter that was a little bit past its date, and he'd take a little bit out of it and put it on the lid, the inside of the lid of the jar, and he put the lid out into the planter box. And we were gone grocery shopping or went out to eat or something one night, and Mom and Dad and my brother and myself were walking up the front walk, and Dad was ahead, and Dad says, "Now hold on, stand right here a minute." He says, our little possum, and that we named him Pogo Possum. He said, "Pogo's on the front porch and he's eating the peanut butter, so be very careful and just walk slowly and just go on in the house." And I said, "He might jump off, but he'll run away from you. He's not going to come and attack you or anything." So we're walking very quietly and very slowly, going up the steps. Pogo has the lid in both of his paws, and he's eating with his mouth. He sees us, he stops, and he's watching us the whole time as we walk by. As soon as we get into the house, he starts eating again. And he was out there that whole winter, and Dad would every night after a certain time of the night that he knew the other animals had went to bed,
Mm-hmm.
he knew Pogo would be coming up shortly, so he'd put out the peanut butter on the lid for him.
Yep. Lindsay has learned that she can feed our cats early in the morning and let them eat to their heart's content. And then in the evening, she'll go out and outside the dog pen and put out a couple more bowls of cat food, just little ones, for the raccoons and the possums. Now we had at one time there was a family of armadillos that were living next to my barn shed, and I mean those were cute as all get out. I just absolutely love to watch them, and they would just they were really shy. So if you went out there, they were gone. But they were fun to watch. Um, and then there was over at Mom and Dad's house when Daddy was still alive, out in the back field, uh, where we usually had a garden, but at this time it was just growing up in grass and everything. Uh, I went out there and I was I believe I was getting ready to mow the backyard just above this little field. And I was pushing the lawnmower out there, hadn't even cranked it yet. And here goes these rabbits porpoising through the tall grass. And it was just so freaking cute. Some of them were teeny tiny, and some of them were like, "You sure that's a rabbit, not a raccoon?" I mean, this thing's huge. Just the way that they hopped through the grass, it was just so adorable.
You talking about little animals?
Uh-huh.
Back in the day, when I still had horses, when I was still physically fit and could do it, and I had horses, I used to keep my horses at a. It was kind of a cooperative
Hmm.
place right down the road from me, and the feed shed was up on blocks to keep it off the ground. Keep everything dry. And from time to time, we knew when we would have to go into the feed shed that there was a skunk that periodically meandered through, apparently. But we didn't think anything about it, and we never saw it. It never bothered us. So one day, I go out to check on my horses and to drop feed, and the gate to the stable yard had a lock on it that was kind of difficult.
Hmm.
And so I got everything done. And so I'm headed back out. I get the gate closed, and I'm trying to get the lock to latch, and it didn't want to latch. And what you wound up having to do, kind of whang it against the gate
Hmm.
until it latched. And so I'm giving it a go with all the gusto I've got. I'm banging this thing against the gate, and I knew that the barn cats had just had a litter of kittens, and so I feel something rubbing on my jeans leg and scrabbling around my boot, and I glance down, and it's like the little kittens. I just barely glanced down, and so as I'm trying to get this stupid lock to click, I reached down to pet them. And as I did, I did actually stop and look down to make sure I wasn't going to actually accidentally poke one or something, only to discover it wasn't cats. It was a litter of baby skunks crawling all over my feet. They had come out of the culvert there at the gate entrance, and were to see what all the noise was about. And here was this human, and they were investigating my boots. And the the baby skunks, they're cute as can be. They don't really have a scent.
Hmm.
But what I'm thinking is, where's Mama? Where's Mama Skunk? And if Mama Skunk comes back and finds baby kits playing all over me, how is she
She's
going to
not going
react?
to be happy.
Yeah. And so I just got really, really, really still. And I just stood there very straight and tall and unmoving and waited for them to get done investigating my boots and go back inside the culvert. And that took a while. Meanwhile, I'm looking all around. Where's Mama? um, and so as soon as the butt of the last one disappeared back in that culvert, I went bang, 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 click. Good, I'm gone. And, so that was a really interesting experience. They were so cute, and they were so careful. It's like they were trying not to damage anything. They were just curious. So I have yet to figure out if skunk is one of my spirit animals or not.
I
Could
think
have been a smelly
Kyle,
spirit animal.
Boy, that was
Kyle would probably be thankful if you had a skunk as a spirit animal, but then that's his. So
That was, I can remember when I was younger and we were clearing off, or uh, we were clearing off an area around my grandmother's house on the farm. And my dad was hauling up some brush manually.
uh-huh.
And I remember suddenly a skunk came out of the woods and daddy just froze and he still had one foot up in the air. But that I've never seen my father stand so still in my life. He was not about to budge. He got sprayed when he was a kid.
Oh yeah, that'll
Um,
teach you.
he
Yep.
was when he tells the story. He was playing like Daniel Boone, you know, and so he went out. He found him some old traps and cleaned them up, and he went out and set himself a trap line and got up bright and early the next morning and went out to check that trap line. And first one it didn't have anything. Second one didn't have anything. Third one didn't have anything. He got all the way to the end of the trap line, and it was one trap that had been triggered and dragged down into a den. So, but he had a stick on it. Bless you. So he grabs the stick and the line, and he starts hauling, and out comes a skunk backwards.
That's not the view of a skunk you want to have.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
His mama made him strip in the backyard and bathe in a tub with lye soap. So when he
Get
when,
get the
so when I
tomato
remember
juice
him,
out.
hmm?
I said I thought you were going to say that she was going to get the tomato juice out.
No, I don't think there was enough tomato juice for that. By the sound of it, I'm not sure what
Had
happened to the
washed
clothes.
up the tomato juice.
Yeah,
Probably got thrown in the fire.
that's a distinct possibility. Yeah, but yeah. So later on, yeah, he wasn't about to move when that skunk came out. No way, no how.
I remember when one of my cousins would set rabbit traps. It was basically a box with a little peg that was notched that triggered a trap door. And he put those around in the wintertime trying to catch rabbits. He was usually pretty successful. He said, if you ever get a raccoon or a skunk or a possum in your rabbit trap, you got to throw that rabbit trap away. It will, no rabbit will ever go near it again. And hello, Chris.
Maybe
Hello,
there he is.
There he
Yeah.
is.
how is everyone?
We're
Uh,
here.
yeah, we're here.
Oh,
We're
Yes.
skunk free,
yeah,
Well, I
and
mean,
and and, and I don't mean the skunk that we know and love either.
yeah, Kyle. Yeah,
yeah.
if he was here, we would definitely be happy
And
to
did
see.
you see his latest profile pic or picture he took the other day? He looked like a rock star.
Oh,
I have seen one, but it was a little bit dark. But I don't think it's the one you were talking about.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, it's good to see you on, Stephanie. It was.
Thank you.
I was excited when I saw you were on. I'm like, yay!
Well, I was kind of um, tossing around and come up with something to do tonight, and then I saw the notice come up over Facebook that y'all were starting, that Stupid O'Clock was starting, and I thought that's something I can do tonight. So
That's something you can do anytime we're on.
Yep.
You are more than welcome.
You have a standing open invitation.
Yeah,
well,
because
thanks
we
much.
are a whole lot more boring without you than we would be with you.
that would be me. Oh,
Yeah, I hate that I missed out on the tractor talk.
That's all right. We'll
yeah,
do.
and I screwed up, Chris. I kept thinking it was called the tractor song, but it's called the rodeo song.
Yeah, I was listening to you. I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't join in at the time.
Yeah, because you just got home from work, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
it's cold.
Oh, tell
Uh-huh.
me about it. Anytime I go out of my office, it's cold in the house because my wife
Yeah,
does not want the electric bill to go up. And I'm going, honey, I pay the electric bill. I don't care how high it is. I don't want to be cold.
yep,
Well, my heat pump is not keeping up with the wind chill all that
yeah.
great. So I have a heavy sweater on and I have a throw across my legs and a cat on top of the throw. So
Yeah.
I'm staying warm. Except I got a
Elrond.
foot sticking out.
Yeah. I got home from work this afternoon. I put my house coat on, turned the heater up, closed the door to my office, which didn't do a damn bit of good because I'm married. My wife keeps coming back here every 5 minutes to tell me something. And she'll stand there with the door open. She will not turn any other heaters on in the house because she doesn't want the electric bill to go up. And I'm going, baby,
Well,
we got the power bill down so low they had to charge us extra $20 because that's the minimum that they will charge anybody. They told us we were
yeah.
spending less than $20 a month on electricity, and they had to charge us 40 because that's their minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's 45. And I'm going, baby, I remember when we were using the air conditioners in the summertime, it was $200 freaking dollars. Please let me have a heater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
when I moved here a year ago, this my first experience with baseboard heating. I
Ooh,
don't have a thermostat,
yeah.
and actually, it was ended up being quite opposite to what I thought it would be as far as power bill goes. And for one, I'm just in a two-bedroom apartment, but compared to a two-bedroom house that I was in, but still, um, it it's reasonably cheap in that. But if I'm out in the living room watching TV, or even right now and in here in the studio, I got the heat turned up a little bit here. But when I go to bed at night, I like it a little cooler. And I think part of that is my breathing problems from either my pulmonary embolisms that I had or my thyroid condition, whatever it is. I seem to like it a little cooler. And it I can always pile on more blankets if need be. And I like considering getting an electric blanket to put on. I've never had one in my life.
I had a problem with electric blankets because I could feel the magnetic field
Yeah.
from it. And it felt really strange.
Well,
Now, I don't know anybody else. Maybe Stephanie would know what I'm talking about. I don't know anybody else that ever actually could feel the blanket besides the heat, but just this uh,
No,
sort of
I can.
ants crawling across you. Uh,
my
I
grandfather would take his electric blanket they had on his bed, and he would have it in between two other blankets to where
sounds like
they had the sheets, and they had a blanket, and they had an electric blanket, and they had another blanket and a quilt over that blanket when it got really cold.
that
That's
um
what I'm
sounds
thinking
like
you
the
would
kind of
do.
cold I want to stay away from. Uh,
what an idea that Daryl had that worked really well for us um until we wore it out. He got an electric blanket. For a double bed, you get a twin size electric blanket, and
Mm-hmm.
then instead of putting it on top of the covers, you put it on the mattress under the fitted sheet,
ah,
and you use it as a bed warmer, and you turn it on before you go to bed, And then when you're ready to go to bed, you can turn it off. You get in, and the mattress is warm. And that was nice. That was a great idea. So
I spent about 40 years of my life sleeping on a waterbed, a heated waterbed. And, oh, when that mattress burst in the middle of the night and we had to bail water, we decided we were not going to go with a waterbed mattress anymore.
Hey, but at least wasn't the water warm though?
It was definitely warm. Then the only reason it didn't ruin the entire bedroom floor was because I had rebuilt the frame of the waterbed, and I had it polyurethane about a 1/4 inch thick, so there was no leakage whatsoever. When my elbow went through that mattress, and Lindsay and I both wound up on our butts in the bottom of the waterbed frame, underwater.
Wow!
Oh me!
You went from having a waterbed to a sauna.
It was more like a very tiny swimming pool.
Yeah.
We went and got buckets and started bailing. She goes, "What are we going to do?" And I go, "Well, we bail it into the blasted tub in the bathroom. Try not to spill any on the way." Bailed that sucker out, and we went to a memory foam mattress after that. Now, if you have never tried to find a California king size memory foam mattress, I mean, I bought this waterbed from a guy who had just moved out of the house that I moved into. And it was too expensive for him, or too labor intensive for him to break it down and take it with him. So he goes, "I'll just sell you the bed, and we just won't let the realtor know." And then the realtor came in and had a crew paint the inside of the house. They did not drain the mattress before moving the waterbed away from the wall to paint behind the waterbed headboard.
Oh, wow.
So the chipboard pretty much went crunch. So I rebuilt it with 3/4 inch marine grade plywood and polyurethane that thing at least a 1/4 inch deep all the way around the inside. When we moved it from that house to where I'm at now, I had to totally disassemble the frame to get it in through the little narrow doors inside this house, because it's not built for
California king.
Well, it was not built to move a 7-foot wide waterbed frame through the darn thing. So I had to take it all apart and then rebuild it and then repolyurethane it again.
Oh me!
It was labor intensive, but it was worth it. I mean, I never had any problem out of the mattress in 20 years that I'd owned the darn thing.
Well, you get 20 years out of a waterbed mattress. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, I got 20 years out of one. I got 15 years out of another one. And then we were laying there that night, and my elbow went through the mattress into the water. And I wound up dog paddling, basically, because it's California king size. It's a big old playground here.
Yeah.
I got room for 15 friends plus one, you know.
My dad had a king-sized waterbed, so I can imagine just how big a California king is.
It is 10 feet wide and 8 feet long. Yeah,
that would be big.
It let me just say, in my younger days, it was a whole lot of fun.
Mhm.
I
And
know.
after we got the memory foam mattress to put in it, I wound up waking up with all kinds of backaches that I never had with the waterbed.
See, I can't think of a waterbed being firm enough for anybody with any back problems or not,
Oh,
that you may not come out without them. When me and my ex-wife first got married, my brother and sister-in-law gave us a king size waterbed that they said was a waveless waterbed. But I know if the ex-wife was laying down on the bed and I'm coming into the bedroom to get ready to take my shoes off, and I sit on the edge of the bed, bloom, there she goes flying over the other side. I'm like, this is not waveless.
well, no,
But
the waveless. There's I think it is styrofoam, but there's a foam pad inside,
mm,
but it's very thin and it floats on top of the water just under the surface of the mattress, and it is supposed to dampen out the waves. Now, I have been on some that did not have that pad, and let me tell you, them waves didn't get damped for a long time.
yeah,
There have been nights when I came home from the club or whatever, I had to put about 3 pillows behind my back and sit up and go, no, the bed is not spinning. No, the bed is not spinning.
we ended up giving it away, and we just said, here, free. I mean, it was put together. The headboard and all that was somewhat nice, but the rest of it was really cheap, shoddy construction. It was
That's what I redid with the 3/4 inch plywood. The normal waterbed uh, base. You got something that comes up from the floor in the center, and then you got the
little X things laying in
no.
there, or no?
This one is more like if you took a bookshelf and laid it down on the floor, because it had braces all the way up,
Mm.
so it wouldn't sag anywhere. But the actual bottom of the bed that sat on that pedestal was chipboard. So when the painters moved it without draining the mattress, it just crushed the chipboard to nothing. I mean, this thing looked like uh, the Jolly Green Giant had said, "Crunch." But
And that's what ours was. Ours was these little X-shaped pedestals. They'd be like this, but they, one would slide down into the other one and make an X, and it was up so high, whatever, 3 foot up or whatever it was, to, like you said, to keep it from sagging. And I mean, it was free floating. I mean, you had to make sure that you had them positioned just correctly, or otherwise you would know it as soon as you got into the bed.
yep. Well, this thing, not only did the bed frame and everything outlive the waterbed mattress, but we've been using this memory foam mattress for Lindsay and I have been together for 16 years now, so probably that was 8 years into our marriage. So we've been making do with the memory foam for a long time. I woke up with more backaches after we went to the memory foam than I had ever had in the previous 25 years with the waterbed mattress. Now, I'm not trying to be a walking commercial for waterbed mattresses, but worked for me.
How do you do with the heat retention on the memory foam?
It's not bad. It's not bad. There's no heating element. There's no electric blanket on it or anything.
But does it make you too hot?
Not me.
Okay.
It does Lindsay. It's not me. No. I have to. Now, you got to remember, Lindsay is one of these ladies that basically uh, she could be blamed for global warming. She gives off a lot of heat.
So do I. That's the reason I'm asking.
She will. Let's see. She's made a couple of comforters for the bed herself. One of them is one that actually has a thin blanket top and bottom that she can slide in.
Be right
A
back.
a blanket that she has also made, and it is enough to keep somebody warm in Antarctica. I swear. And she'll sleep on top of it with the sheet, you know. And I'll crawl under all of it and go, "Ooh, baby, please, I'm freezing." But no.
Well, I keep the thermostat set at around 67 or 68 in the house. And Daryl, after they put him on so many heart meds and everything, he was always like, "Can we turn up the heat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, honey, we can, but the problem is I can only take. You can put on more clothes. I can only take off so much."
Mhm.
And so he finally grasped that I was just that hot natured, and so he started putting on more clothes. But I was just wondering because I've heard that the memory foam will make you really, really hot. And I know that I've had problems with memory foam insoles in my shoes making my feet sweat something terrible.
Yep.
So,
If you generate a lot of body heat, it would be a problem. Um,
okay.
you can make do with. Uh, let's see. They do sheets that you can put on top of them that pretty much will let you wick out all the extra heat,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody else right next to you that isn't hot nature will be freezing to death. So
Okay.
it it's just one of those things where you got to make accommodations one way or the other, um, depending on the circumstances. Now, I have not noticed that it is acting like a huge block of insulation, which I do have a little bit of experience with huge blocks of insulation. But
You do it that.
yes, and uh, if it's cold in the house and you get in that bed, it's a cold bed. When my wife comes to bed, it gets warm real quick because she is definitely a furnace.
Wow.
Hey, I it's a fringe benefit. I didn't ask for it, but I'm glad to have it. Let me tell you,
Well,
cold natured
it's
man.
great, especially in wintertime.
Oh Lord, yeah. I'll snuggle up to her and she goes, "Oh, your feet are cold." I go, "Yeah, well, won't be for long now that I got you to snuggle up to." So there you go. Oh, here we go again. I'll be right back.
So it's you and me, Chris.
Mhm.
What you eating?
One of the last of my Ghirardelli chocolate with the caramel centers that I bought over the
Oh,
holidays.
I'm jealous.
Before that, I ate a dark chocolate peppermint bark, and after that, and then before the caramel, I did a milk chocolate peppermint bark. Yeah, it's a bad thing about wintertime. When I get home from work, I got the munchies from Hades.
Yeah, you keep talking about that chocolate, you're gonna wind up with this one of the drug companies cops trying to get on you about all this. Let me tell you, uh, this is something that Lindsay got me for Christmas.
Ooh.
Ooh.
You have no idea. There's not a
No, but I can guess.
Me
there
too.
is not a single drop of alcohol in it, but it is some of the best. I mean, it's oh God, I can only eat like 2 squares a day. It will overpower everything else. I
Well,
mean, and I'm not one that much for sweets in the first place, but good Lord, this is decadent.
um, I'm going to probably this when the holiday season comes around again and later this year. I'm probably going to try the Lent chocolates because I haven't tried those before. I
Mm.
always, when I got them, I would get them for mom, and I would not deprive her of any of them. She got all of them, and
Um,
They're actually really good.
they are. My favorite is the dark chocolate truffle.
I think that was one of her favorites. It and the milk chocolate, I think, were her two favorites of that.
Yep. And there is another one that has uh, the chocolate with a caramel filling
Hmm.
that is really, really good. Which is basically what that Guinness chocolate is.
Yeah.
That's a milk chocolate with a caramel filling.
Hmm.
I'm going, oh my God! If I ate 3 of these squares, it'd kill me.
Now, the funny thing is, I don't particularly care for the sort of, I guess you'd call it semi soft or semi hard caramels, but the liquidy stuff that's inside of chocolate, now that I could go for
Oh yes, oh yes.
in a New
Oh,
York minute.
here we go. We got Kiri here with us too. Hey, Kiri.
Hey, Carrie.
Oh, I haven't seen him since Hallowcon actually, and it was a
Yeah.
pleasure meeting there too.
Yep.
It's really nice. Uh, oh,
Big Doctor Who fan.
Josh is trying to stir up another chili cook-off.
Of course, because he missed out the last time.
Yes, but he wants to load it up with uh, Carolina Reapers and stuff. And
Nobody will eat that crap.
I know. I
I like
know.
to be able to taste the chili, doggone it.
I like to be able to taste the next 5 meals I have after the chili.
Yeah,
Too.
that's what
mean,
I was thinking.
he might want it for a snack, but there ain't no point in him making a big pot of it because he needs those smallest crock pots that they make. What is
Mhm.
it, the 2.5 quarts or whatever? That's what he needs to make, and he will be lucky if half of it's gone, and probably only half of it'll be gone because he ate it.
Yep. Unlike mine and John's,
Yeah,
which both got
y'all's
empty.
were y'all's were good. I mean,
Uh,
his was too hot. Yours was just about right. Yours had a really good flavor to it.
Mine was a little bit too much water.
Chris,
Yeah,
you sound like Baby Bear.
I got I got there and I panicked because what I brought was not a whole crock pot full. So
yeah.
I had to go and get more stuff to fill up the crock pot.
Well, the thing is, if we did it the night before, it might be okay. But I hate having to try and get all that stuff ready with everything else that's going on when the
Uh,
actual thing starts.
it's definitely one of those things that you want for Sunday.
Yeah, well, either Sunday or, like I said, Thursday, if you get
Oh
there
yeah,
soon
yeah.
enough and all
You know,
that.
before
Before or after the main festivities.
but my opinion is, if Megan's going to be doing the cooking for us, ain't nobody needs to compete with that woman. She's Olympic class, I swear.
Hang on,
She's
Josh. I'll
great.
send you the link.
Oh, okay. Carrie, you want to come in too? Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sending him.
okay.
I may have to bow out here, guys, because not only is the headset making my head hurt, I'm starting to run out of steam. So
That's perfectly fine. We're happy to have
Yep.
you as long as you want to stay.
I appreciate it. I think I probably do need to bug out.
Well,
I will be
hit
back.
Elron for me.
I
Yep.
will be back.
And here's my yeller feller.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was trying to coax mine to come on up here so that y'all could see him, but he wasn't having
Show
any
the
of it.
backside.
So
Some of them are camera shy and some are not.
yep.
He's just wanting to get into stuff. Typical
Well,
boy.
you and the kitty stay warm tonight. Stay safe.
Thank you. And I
Yep.
will do my best. And as long as nobody pulls anything stupid with ice on the road and a utility pole, I should be all right.
Mm,
Yep.
It's true.
Well, get some things ready just in case.
I
Yeah.
have. I have.
Give Elron some head rubs for me.
I can do that, and I'm sure he'll enjoy it. So y'all
Yep.
take it easy and have a good rest of the night, and
Yep.
I'll
Good
catch
night.
y'all on the flip flop.
All right.
Good, Stephanie.
Until then,
Hmm.
All right.
Take
Good night,
care.
guys.
Good
good
night.
night.
Carrie's coming in at the last minute.
That's all right. I'm going to
I'll
go
send him a link.
last minute. You're right. It is a last minute.
Well, about the last 7 minutes, I guess.
There
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
If I
How's
didn't
it
have
going,
to go to work
guys?
tomorrow, we could go on all night. But I do have to go to work tomorrow.
I
Yeah.
understand.
That's what.
I just
Carrie,
wanted
is that a different avatar than what we saw you with the last time?
It's slightly different. Yeah.
Most likely.
Okay.
I was thinking it was also a different outfit and different background.
Look, I'm going to learn how to do that sometime because I really like that.
Oh, they're cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, it is. So, how you been?
I've been having my up and down days, but right now I'm all right.
Can identify. Definitely.
Life is a roller coaster.
That it is. That it is.
As I like to say, Mom told us there'd be days like this. She didn't say there would be this many and this many in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, I had a pleasant experience trolling through YouTube last night. There were some people that I have subscribed to that were doing reaction videos. They played some stuff from Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Mm.
And it was with their original singer, not the one that became the best known after their first album when the original guy stepped out and they had to replace him with another guy. And I'm going, oh, that's great. Now I got to go listen to the other stuff. And I did. And then there was one,
Excuse me.
I just absolutely knew it was them, but no, it was a copycat band. They were trying to sound like Blood, Sweat, and Tears and got famous for it. Had a really big hit. And I'm going, you know, I am amazed that I did not remember that those were two different bands. It was an embarrassing moment, but thankfully I was just listening and not posting about it, so nobody ever knew that I screwed up. Unlike most of the time, like this, when I screw up casually and nobody.
There's a Kiss tribute band called Strutter that, if you didn't know it was them right off the bat, there are several songs that they
I've
sing.
actually heard of them.
Yeah, they are. You could swear that's got to be Gene or Paul singing, but it's not.
Well, I wanted to go see them, but I never did get a chance because I found out about it too late. But when I was in Vegas years ago, there was this Kiss tribute band called Tiny Kiss, I think, and three of them were midgets, and the other one was like Amazon or giant, and like I said, it would have been a real treat to see those.
That sounds kind of strange. Now, have you ever heard of Dread Zeppelin?
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah, well, it turns out the lead singer from Led Zeppelin thought they were amazing and kept one or two of their CDs in his car all the time. Kerry, if you've never heard of this, imagine a Led Zeppelin tribute band, but they're playing reggae music, and the lead singer is an Elvis impersonator.
It seems like Elvis.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's awesome. It really is.
Have you ever heard of Jed Zeppelin?
No, I haven't.
This is a Led Zeppelin tribute band that does Led Zeppelin song parodies, but as Jed Clampett and Beverly Hillbilly type country bluegrass music versions of typical Led Zeppelin songs that everybody knows. It is you have to Google on YouTube. You know, there's some on YouTube. I know you gotta Google it. It is hilarious.
Well, have you ever heard of Hasty Dixie?
Yes.
Dixie.
Oh yes.
They are a bluegrass AC/DC tribute band.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They do a pretty interesting version of Thunderstruck.
Yeah, they do.
Now there is one that I am really impressed by. It's called Zepparella, and it is 4 girls doing Led Zeppelin music, and they sound better than Led Zeppelin.
Well, there is a all-female AC/DC tribute band called Shoot to Thrill.
Never heard of them before.
I haven't actually listened to their songs. I just seen them, and they're hot. And I think I heard an excerpt of one of the songs. They're pretty good.
The only tribute band I've ever seen in my life in 1981 at the U of I Assembly Hall in Champaign, Urbana, was Beatlemania. They had 4 different sets of Beatlemania going on around at the same time. This was big, elaborate productions. They would go from early days changing over the wigs and everything and all the costumes to like Sgt. Pepper, and then Get Back Era and all this. The John impersonator in our group happened to be Marshall Crenshaw.
Oh wow!
And it was the best. I still have the book, the souvenir booklet of it, and it shows all of them standing in typical Beatle photo poses. And Marshall Crenshaw.
I remember seeing a special about that where they were auditioning people for that Beatlemania tour, but they made it sound like there was only going to ever be this one instead of 4 or 5 that were going out at the same time, 4 or 5 different bands. But they had this guy from India that came in, and was doing George Harrison songs. I mean, you could tell he was from India and he wasn't George Harrison. But if George Harrison had had a brother that was born in India and sounded just exactly like him, this dude was the one. It was that close. Yeah. I looked at it and I go, you know, if George had had a choice in where and when he was, he'd have been this guy.
He and his son Danny does have a little bit of an Indian look to him.
Oh yes, yes.
I mean, he looks like a young George, right? Or well, actually, right.
There's a 4-hour thing on YouTube. You can see it in 1-hour segments. It is called a concert for George, and it's got everybody in it. Now, the first couple of hours has a lot of the influence from India, all the traditional stuff that George really loved, that kind of influenced him in the way he was writing stuff. And then you get in the last 2 hours, and they're doing Beatles songs, they're doing George Harrison songs. I mean, you've got all these people standing there. You got Paul McCartney on piano. You got Billy. No, the fifth Beatle. What?
Billy Preston.
Billy Preston. Thank you. I could not come up with his last name. You've got all these people standing around. Jeff. Is it Jeff Lynne from
ELO?
ELO, yeah.
Yep.
And lots of other people. Eric Clapton's in there. And it's just, it takes a lot of determination to get through all 4 hours of it, but it is well worth it.
Yeah.
And if you just want the highlights, you can just go to YouTube and Google the different highlights of it, like My Guitar Gently Sweeps.
Dan, would you happen to be a fan of Boston?
I am indeed.
The late Brad Delp had a Beatles tribute band called Beetlejuice.
I had never heard of that before. I'll have to look that up.
Yep. And it's sad that he committed suicide. Man, he had a heck of a voice.
You can't. People have all kinds of things go on in their lives, and sometimes it's more than they can handle.
Oh, I understand. I just hate it that we lost him so soon because he still had music left in him. In fact, one of his other bands, RTZ, Return to Zero, had some really good songs.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of them. I haven't heard anything by them, but I've heard of them. I've heard
well, apparently, him and Barry Goodrow got along really well, and they both kind of butted heads with Tom Schultz, who founded the band. And Tom Schultz was actually an MIT student. I think he graduated from there, but I'm not positive. But I figured since you were talking about the Beatles and all that, I would mention that because I didn't find out that he had that tribute band until he died.
We attracted somebody from across the pond here, I see.
Glenn, I am so glad that you watched the show. I was just about ready to run the end credits, and I'm going, I am not the least bit sleepy yet, even though let me go and refill my cough medicine, and we will be back, and we will keep going here for a little while. I mean, it's been 2 hours. That's fine.
It's your show, Dan. Go long as
Nice,
you
Ace.
feel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I come back, remind me to tell you about seeing Boston on the same ticket as Sammy Hagar back in
Ooh,
the
nice.
Wow.
I think it was the '80s, I do believe. But
Yeah,
uh,
I got to see.
let me get the cough medicine. I'll be
Yeah,
right back.
go ahead. Yeah, Ace, I saw Boston without Brad. They got a fairly decent um, facsimile of his voice, the person singing. Um, in fact, a lot of people who aren't really into music or an audiophile, if you will, probably would say that they couldn't tell a difference. But it's if there's certain singers you like and you really listen to them a lot, you can tell differences between them and any
Yeah.
replacements or alternates that they may have.
And Glenn, I'm glad you don't have the Rona on there. Your test came up negative, and it probably is just a cold or the flu. But Carrie, I don't know how old you are, so all these groups and names that we're talking, obviously Beatles and some things I know that you'll be familiar with, but I didn't know if we're boring you with the rest of it or if you're familiar and fans of or not.
It's all good. I've only listened to a bit of musical acts from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm really into the musical acts from the 1980s. I used to love to listen to anything from like the 1970s and 80s when I was a kid.
Okay. So you could listen to the Ramones and then maybe go right to the Flock of Seagulls and maybe Blondie after that and Human
Probably.
League or whatever else. Gary Newman singing Cars or the Cars singing something else entirely different.
I know exactly who you're talking about, Bill, but
Mhm.
that's right in my wheel work.
And I'm a child of the '60s and a teen of the '70s, so I guess I'm in the same group. 60, some '60s, mostly '70s, some '80s, and then after that, it's kind of slim pickings. It's really kind of slim pickings from about 1985 on, but there's some bright lights in the sky though from it. And that is right, Glenn. We had some of the best music in the '70s. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a big Eagles fan, Glenn. I don't know if you are or not, but
And I grew up. I never. Mom and Dad never had me listen to kids records or anything when I was really young, and I grew up watching the Monkees on TV, and I really dug the music. And so every once in a while, Dad would bring home a 45, or if I was exceptionally good, one of their record albums. And one of them I have up actually over on the wall over there, Monkees headquarters. And so I got introduced to the Beatles from the Monkees, which is kind of opposite of everybody else. So
well,
anyway,
it's funny. Star Trek added Chekhov as a way to kind of
Yeah,
cash in on the popularity of the Monkees, Davy Jones.
yeah.
yeah.
That's why they gave him the haircut that they did. Yeah.
Oh, Walter Koenig did bear a striking resemblance to Davy Jones.
For a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
And when they did that kind of overcompensation on the Beatles haircut, I think he actually looked a little bit more like Davey when he had a little bit more of the conservative look haircut than he did the what looked like a Beatles wig on the top of Koenig's head.
Yeah, I think everybody that had to do the show that had to wear a wig was.
Well, it was, like I said, it was more a Monkees thing than it was a Beatles thing.
Mm-hmm. I actually just saw a rerun of the I Dream of Jeannie episode that starred Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart in it, and Phil Spector played the role where they were auditioning for Phil Spector in the episode.
Mm.
And you had Barbara Eden playing drums for Boyce and Hart.
Mm. Yeah, the 70s was a great time for music because you had the emergence of the country rock sound that the Flying Burrito Brothers kind of started
Mhm.
in the Eagles and John David Souther and
Well, no, I'd add the
Sounds
Grateful
good.
Dead into there too. Even though they had their own shtick of let's have a 75-minute jam session for this one piece of music.
Yeah.
But no, the Grateful
But
Dead,
Allman Brothers was good at it when they
yeah.
did stuff like that.
Well, the Almonds were unique because they kind of had Southern rock, they had blues, and just a hint of gospel.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I will not
And-
argue with any of that.
And that's what truly made them unique. You know, the fact that they had two drummers.
Yeah,
Right.
And Dickie Betts and Dwayne playing off each other.
oh Lord, slide guitar and oh Lord, yes, and they just attracted some of the best musicians ever.
You know,
And
the funny
Dwayne
thing
Allman,
is-
that guitar work of Dwayne Allman's was just out of this world.
he is one of the best guitarists that's ever lived on this planet. And the funny thing is, he didn't care what you looked like, who you were. If he decided he wanted to jam with you, you were going to have one of the best experiences of your whole life.
Mhm.
Oh Lord, yeah.
He decided to go to Muscle Shoals when he heard that Eric Clapton was there. Eric Clapton was trying to find a sound. He couldn't. He said, I can't figure it out now. And Dwayne started playing. He's like, that's it.
Derek and the Dominoes. Yep.
And Derek and the Dominoes were
Mhm.
born.
Yep.
And they didn't want anybody to know who they were at first because they just wanted to be able to make their own music. And
Yeah. And as
It was
popular as Layla is, I when I hear Bell Bottom Blues on the radio today, I just think, oh man, couldn't they have done a couple more albums? You know,
Was that
I'm
a
just-
double album or just one with the fold-up cover?
yeah, just want to be a little bit more selfish about it than that, and just
Well-
hope that they did.
I think the record companies and the money behind them was kind of
True.
making them uncomfortable and just they're like, man, we want to do our own thing. Leave us alone.
Yeah, really. Just
Well, that's like you talk
record it
about
and
the
sell it. Don't tell us what to do.
yeah. You were talking about the Flying Burrito Brothers evolving from the Birds and that earlier. And I'm thinking,
All that evolved from the Birds.
well, late 78, early 79, they had Roger McGuinn, Gene Clark, and Chris Hillman form McGuinn, Clark, and Hillman, which the big song that they had from that album was "Don't You Write Her Off Like That." But they had Backstage Pass and I think one other single off the album. But I actually bought the whole album because I had been a big Birds fan forever. And And there are other songs on that album that are just absolutely spectacular. And they're another one that I wish that they would have kept the McGuinn, Clark, and Hillman with the same musicians in the lineup, and went on a little bit more, but it just, it didn't evolve much more than that.
What was it I was gonna tell you all about, because it was Boston and Sammy Hagar on the same ticket
Yeah.
at the University of Georgia Coliseum, which is a little concrete dome in the middle of University of Georgia campus.
Yeah.
It was a basketball stadium.
Yeah. Stegman Coliseum.
No, Stegman. Stegman's the football stadium.
No, Sanford's the football stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sanford Stadium is the football stadium. Stegman Coliseum is where the basketball team plays.
Okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you're talking. Yeah, yep. And I live here. I should know that. Anyway, somebody talked me into going to this concert, and they go, Boston and Sammy Hagar, and I go, who the fuck is Sammy Hagar? Never heard
Montrose?
of him. Never heard of him before, because I was more into synth rock and space rock and heavy synth bands at the time. But went there, got tickets, sitting around in there, cold as because it's all concrete. So Boston comes out and blows everybody away. Just, 7 guitars and a drum, basically the stereotype. Yeah. And they're just blowing everybody away. Sammy Hagar comes out and makes Boston sound like a pickup band of garage musicians. I had never heard of Sammy Hagar before, but I was impressed.
Oh, that definitely.
It was. I was really impressed. Like I said, I'd never heard of him before, but when Sammy Hagar came out, and he's just he's using FX pedals and stuff like that. He drummed the guitar, take his hand away from it, hold it up in midair, and he used these pedals to modify the guitar chord that it was still playing. And this was long before MTV, so nobody had ever heard of I Can't Drive 55 or anything like that. He had never been asked to do fill in for Van Halen before. It was just, I didn't know who he was, but he just blew my ass away.
Oh yeah,
he's got cheap seats. Let me tell you, I was in the cheap seats. So,
he
big auditorium at all, and it had horrible acoustics. But both bands, both Boston and Sammy Hagar, figured out the acoustics before the concert started, so that they could do their best work in this concrete echo chamber. And they just did an amazing job.
Yeah, Sammy started out with Montrose, and Bad Motor Scooter was probably his biggest hit with them. And then he had a solo career, which he had some successful. Like you said, it was before MTV, and he hadn't really come onto the scene yet. But he had some really good songs like 3 Lock Box and I'll Fall in Love Again, and he was just able, and his album VOA was actually supposed to be Voice of America, but somebody had already come out with an album title with that name, so he had to shorten it to VOA, and that's the one that had I Can't Drive 55 and Two Sides of Love, and that's a really good song if you hadn't heard it, by the way.
Now,
And he also did one of the title tracks to Heavy Metal, the movie, animated movie.
Right. Yeah, the first one. Yep.
He did.
this little arena, Heart also played. I was not there. I did not see them.
Mm-hmm.
I heard from my classmates that did go. They just rocked the joint. Just before the end of the concert, come to find out, somebody with a pistol had gone into the ticket office and stolen all the proceeds from the show.
Oh, wow.
Oh no.
And made a clean getaway. They never got caught. Never, ever got caught. So Hart did that concert for free because somebody stole their money.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't know if they got insurance about that kind of thing or not.
I would think they would, that in case something like that happened, that they would get a certain percentage of what the
school would have to come up with money. I mean,
yeah.
the ticket office was empty.
Yeah.
So,
Or, well, they probably, the insurance that they have, it would be paid by the insurance company, but the school is paying every month to keep that insurance in case something like that happens. But EIU over Bloomington Normal, Illinois, has an acoustically sound auditorium, and in 1983 we went to see the Stray Cats in concert, and they were, the opening act was the Bus Boys, which they did have a hit single out at the time, but it got up to like maybe 30 or 29 on the top 50 billboards. But so a lot of people were kind of like, oh, I don't know about these Bus Boys and that.
Well,
and they had this black lead guitar player in the group that he sounded like Hendrix. And in this acoustically perfect auditorium, it just resonated wonderfully. I mean, it was awesome, and that and that really pumped up the audience, and then of course they go off, and then here comes Brian and Lee Rocker and them on the Stray Cats, and just literally just tear the joint down from that point on. It was an awesome concert.
What year was it?
83, I believe.
Okay, that song was probably "The Boys Are Back in Town," and that was on the 48 Hours soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken.
By the Bus Boys. Yeah,
it's not the same as the song by Thin Lizzy.
No, I know. Yeah, right.
But it's actually a pretty good song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were a good group. They really were, and I liked the song going into the concert. I knew of them, and I knew of that song. Yeah. Knew of no other song by them, or how they played live. Because some people play really crappy live compared to the other. But back then, at least, but no, they were awesome, and I would always buy concert T-shirts, or the Kiss reunion concert in 97 or 96. I mean, that I went to in Terre Haute. I bought a reunion or concert T-shirt, but I also bought the black denim jacket with the Destroyer patch on the back. But the Stray Cats concert, their concert T-shirt was sleeveless, naturally, because they wore the cut-off sleeve T-shirts.
Well, I will tell you another act that sounds as good live as they do on an album is Toto.
Hmm.
There's you one, Glenn, from the '70s. I
Yep.
mean, that their heyday was the early '80s, but their first hit, "Hold the Line," came out in '73, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
Now,
Yeah.
one of the
And I
few
sing,
one of the few things I can thank my first wife for was taking me to the local uh, country bar
Mm-hmm.
and getting to see some really, really classic acts. Um, and these are let's see. Uh, oh Lord, there's so many I can't even remember. Um, and I wasn't even into country music at the
Yeah.
time. I just was aware that it was not anything to be sneered at. I mean, it wasn't my
Well,
cup of tea, but
Kiri will probably be familiar with what I'm about to mention. There used to be this wonderful music festival before the folks at Bonneville got a hold of it and blew it all to heck, called Riverbend. And it was held during usually the first week of June. It was a 10-day festival, and they would have the Coca-Cola stage, which was actually set up on a barge on the Tennessee River for the main stage, and they had 4 or 5 other stages. You see smaller acts, and you could see big name acts from years ago.
mhm.
They might be on the big stage, or they might be on smaller stages, and I got to see a lot of acts that I would have never gotten to see before. I got to see Dr. Hook. I loved getting to see them.
Mhm.
I got to see Alan Parsons Project.
Oh wow.
That there were people like, why are you not on the big stage? Because I think Randy Owen was on the big stage that night. And Alabama's big, and don't get me wrong, I like the band Alabama, but it was one of those times where, like, man, we've heard this, and they never got to see Alan Parsons live before. And he sounded phenomenal. I mean, the stuff he learned just as a producer at Abbey Road Studios.
Hmm. Actually, I
And
was watching something just last night about that. Um, there's a fellow talking to Alan Parsons about producing the album Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd,
mhm,
and how many studio tricks and games that they had to play in order to get all that sound to come out. Did you know that the original concept for Dark Side of the Moon was supposed to be quadraphonic,
hmm,
four channel stereo, which is
mhm,
why you got all this ping pong special effect with the background
mhm.
stuff,
yeah.
like the cash register and the clocks and all this. And Alan's just going, yeah, well, we thought it was supposed to be the newest big thing, but after we had the 4-track stereo background tracks, we were working in 16 and
Bless you.
32 tracks in the studio, and quadraphonic didn't happen, but we kept the ping pong effects from all the swoop noises
Mhm.
in the headphones.
Beatles were good at that on
Yes,
the
they were.
Sergeant Pepper album.
Well, Alan Parsons was working in Abbey Road Studios at the time. Some of the later Beatle albums were being made.
Mhm.
Anyway, um, getting back to what you were talking about, the country acts that you got to see, I got to see Merle Haggard. I got to
Uh,
see Kenny Rogers.
yep.
I got to see
Kenny
Susie
Rogers used to be
Bogus.
a neighbor of mine.
Oh, well.
wow.
Yeah.
Um, I got to see Susie Bogus. I got to see Keith Urban before I mean, as he was on the rise as an artist in popularity and being coming well known. He actually brought Little Big Town with him before They got huge. And
Got to
you know,
see,
I got to see Firefall.
got to see David Allen Coe
Yeah.
and uh, Charlie Pride and
I got to see Amy Lou Harris. I got to
you
see,
know, I can't even remember who they were nowadays, but
of course,
I know they're famous.
Charlie Daniels, Hank Williams Jr.
Yep, cannot come up with the names. The only one that I didn't really get a chance to see was Orion, one of the Elvis impersonators.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of mine who was really heavy into Elvis
Mm-hmm.
thought Orion was actually Elvis
Hmm.
after having faked his own death. And I'm going, yeah, cowboy, that's we'll give you that one. Okay, we'll give you that one. I don't think it's right, but it's a possibility. Um, Lord, so many different acts. So many different acts.
Did you get to see Glenn Campbell?
I got, believe it or not, I got to watch Glenn Campbell's variety show on TV.
Oh yeah, I remember it was a good time.
I've never seen him live. I wish I had.
Yeah.
And I'm not that big a country fan, you know. I'm more of a classic rock, electronica, synthesized stuff. Got to see Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Ooh, did you see Glenn's comment about Wings guitarist Henry McCullough? Is the male voice on Dark Side of the Moon? So Paul McCartney was on too, but Roger Waters deleted him.
Yeah.
Paul and Linda were both recorded for Dark Side of the Moon for the talking bit at towards the end. Henry McCullough is the guy that goes, I don't know, I was really drunk at the time. That was his line.
And speaking of Wings, Jimmy McCullough, that's another guitar great. And Joe English, I think my all-time favorite song on Wings at the Speed of Sound album is Joe English's vocals on the song Must Do Something About It. Paul wrote the song and that, but Joe singing it was just perfect.
Well, about Emerson, Lake and Palmer, that was one of the few times I was able to get floor seats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like 16 rows from the stage. Emerson, Lake and Palmer are playing. They've gone through their entire concert, and now it's time for everybody to get their Bic lighters out and call out for an encore. And I'm the only person in the entire Omni that has a lightsaber.
Oh,
they came back out. Keith Emerson looks dead at me and grinned. And then they went on to play their encore. And I think it was part of Carnival 9.
Mm.
And it's just like he's standing the organ up on its edge and still playing and throwing the damn thing around like it's a piece of styrofoam.
Oh man, he had the stuff on rockers and just going back and forth.
Yeah, he would toss the darn thing all over the room. Got to see
the Omni was not a pretty building on the outside, but it had really good acoustics.
You remember when ELO did the In the Round tour where they had the spinning stage? Got to see them that year.
Oh, awesome.
I don't remember who the opening act was.
Well, it's kind of...
I should. but I don't.
Was that back when Kelly was still their bass player?
This was about the time of the Flying Saucer album.
Okay, yeah. So he was still, but I don't think he left until like 83, 84, something like that.
No,
Yeah, he was the.
and
He had a high voice. He was one of the higher backing vocals, and sometimes would do co-lead with Jeff. And,
I was in the nosebleed seats to
Mhm.
watch Yes and Donovan.
Mhm. You
That
know, my favorite song by Donovan is
that was
Atlantis.
fun. Atlantis.
Yes.
He played it in Atlanta, and he changed Atlantis to Atlanta in the song,
Oh wow.
and the crowd went crazy. I
Well,
got
being a
sick.
comic book fan, my favorite song of his was Sunshine Superman,
Yeah.
Yep.
which, yes, it was kind of a bubblegum song, but,
Well,
those
I mean,
were popular at the
it
time.
paid the bills.
Well, the
Mhm.
reason why I said Atlantis is it's one of the few songs that are. I mean, Mellow Yellow is okay, but
Yeah.
like I said,
Another
compared to it,
bubblegum song.
but compared to it, Atlantis was like awesome.
Mm.
Because I love the way he starts out telling the story, and then it starts going into the music and the song and the singing, and it's just
I got to see Chuck Berry at Six Flags, and I got within 10 feet of the stage.
well.
It was standing room only.
Yeah, I bet. I did
And
get to see Little Richard at Riverbend,
oh wow, I wish I'd seen that. Yeah.
and I got to see the Black Crows. And interesting enough, the Black Crows, they didn't hardly pause anything. They didn't get on the microphone, preach, or tell any stories. They just played, and they played for about an hour and a half straight.
I got to
Um,
see Little Richard in Danville, Illinois, and got to sit on the stage with Little Richard, me and my friend, interviewing him for our high school newspaper, which I've told this story before, so I won't go into it again now. But he was a very pleasant person to talk to, and he was very genuine.
Yeah.
He didn't feel like, oh geez, I got to talk to these snot-nosed teenagers, and that he actually wanted to. He could have sent his person out to say, go away, kid, don't bother me, or don't bother Little Richard. And when his one of his entourage came out, we thought that's basically what we was going to say, and he says he'll be out in just a minute.
Well, the cool thing was I got to see the Four Tops and the Temptations as well.
Oh God, that's impressive.
And they actually had original members left of both bands. I think there was only one original member of both bands, but it was still cool getting to see something that was tied to the legacy that the bands had. I also got to see. There's one cool experience. The band might not be that well known. I don't even know if they're still together, but they were called Mr. North, and they were originally from Ireland. Well, they moved to New York, and they had an album out called Life Size. Well, they were on one of the smaller stages up near the Hunter Art Museum because they had basically Riverview Drive blocked off for the whole festival, from the Aljadi Bridge to the past the Market Street Bridge. And anyway, there was this gal that was dressed up like a mermaid that somebody was carrying through, and she digged the band, and they stopped, and she stopped and had to listen to him, and the lead singer motioned for him to bring her closer. Well, he was singing, picked her up, carried her. She was, flipping her tail and, swaying along to the music. It was an awesome moment. I'm like, man, you don't get to see stuff like that all the time.
Another one I got to see was opening night of Adamant's Strip tour
Oh, wow.
in Atlanta with the Romantics as their opening act.
Oh, that would have been a good show.
It was a great show. Only problem was I was the oldest person in the theater that was not working security or on stage.
Hey, who brought Grandpa in here?
Well, the thing is, I was 19 at the time,
Oh,
Yeah.
The entire audience was 14-year-old girls,
Well, yeah.
except for me and the three people that I had driven to Atlanta from Athens. They were 17. I was 19. And then everybody else in the building that was older than us was either on stage or on security.
Now, their parents might have been back at the concession stand.
yeah.
Oh, no, the concession stand was outside. Let me tell you. And
Carrie, did you ever?
Fun. Let me tell you what. I just absolutely love Adamant. I really do. And I can sing along with everything. And I did shamelessly, even though I could, I'd have, to carry a tune in a bucket, I'd have to have a pair of tongs to pinch the damn thing with. So.
He was good at writing or performing catchy songs.
Yeah.
They had good hooks to them.
Yeah. Now, come to find out, he and I share a birthday.
Oh, cool.
And come to find out, he is bipolar. So, and all the time that I have been helping my wife cope with her bipolar, I've managed to get an understanding of what the condition is. And I can understand all the crap that he's gone through and why he had to reinvent himself so many times.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where your brain does not allow you to be happy with what you're doing for very long.
David Lee Roth of Van Halen is ADHD from hell.
Well, he was kind of a jerk anyway.
Well,
regardless of what he had or didn't have.
I was not going to go there. I was not going to go there. I'm not.
I will, because my mother had a personal experience with Van Halen. They were on a tour bus going down Interstate 74. They were involved in it. Their tour bus was involved in an accident. They were brought over to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Danville, Illinois, where my mom worked. And because me and my brother were teenagers in high schools and big fans of Van Halen, she went up there and they could only put two in a room, so they were in 2 or 3 different rooms. And they were the most rudest band. They were screaming, they were tormenting nurses, they were being little divas. When my mom walked in and asked if they needed anything, they said, "No, not from you." And then mom said, "By the way, both of my sons are big fans of yours. Can I get an autograph?" And David Lee Roth looked at my mom and said, "We only give autographs to paying audiences." And at that point, you did not speak of Van Halen to mom. That was a taboo word.
Yeah.
Lindsay used to work in, I think it was Albuquerque, as a hotel cleaning staff. She was head of the cleaning staff. I do believe that it was John Bon Jovi's van came through. and she had to clean up their rooms, and they had utterly trashed the place. So she was trying very hard to. I mean, she thought she was going to get fired for having to clean up the mess after this rock band when they had just utterly demolished the hotel rooms. You talk about the all the old tall tales about Keith Moon trashing hotels. Evidently, Bon Jovi's band, not necessarily him, his band, took that to
Right.
heart, decided to treat that as a training session. So,
Oh, yeah, that opened the doors for a lot of
they had
bands.
destroyed an entire suite of rooms. And she had to go in there and clean it up. She goes, I'm never going to buy any of their shit again.
Yeah.
And then in I think, what was it, 78, when The Kids Are All Right rockumentary came out, and Keith Moon was parroting his actions that he would have in those hotels while Steve Martin's trying to interview him. And which, of course, it was very hilarious, but I mean, Keith probably wasn't doing anything that he normally wouldn't do in a hotel room anyway.
Yeah.
I really like the way that this is a wild aside. Okay, I really like the way that Terry Pratchett treated that in the novel Soul Music, where the band was traveling around from place to place, being all these different people, and the dwarf Claude Claudson was going, I can't stand this. I'm going to have to redecorate this room. And so instead of tearing the place to shreds, he would absolutely, totally redecorate the room in the most tasteful manner. And it's like, this is what he did in mind, was paint walls and restain the floors and things like that. I'm going, only Terry Pratchett can think of a way to parody the Who that way.
Hey, Carrie, do you have any close encounters of the third kind with any rock groups?
Oh man, I can't say I have. I've never really been to any concerts or anything. The closest thing to a concert I've ever been to was there was like this whole. Are you guys aware of this whole biker group traveling down the Trail of Tears?
Mm-hmm.
They had like this little concert slash. I think it was an auction as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right near my house, right across from the gas station. And my mom and my sister and I decided we were gonna go check it out, and it was pretty rocking. I mean, I think it was just a cover band. They were doing various covers of songs. Can't exactly remember what band it was, but it's obviously not big enough to be, they're not that big. So we went to that and just enjoyed ourselves for a bit. They had it at like this, I think it was a motorcycle shop. I think it was. So.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got to see a live band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
even if they are a cover band, they probably put their heart into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Carrie, at some time after we get through all the COVID craziness and crazies and all that's all behind us, which who knows when that'll end now. You ought to investigate some big groups coming around your area and actually go see a big name group, kind of just for the experience. Not say, oh, well, this is my favorite group in the world and here they're coming 30 miles away from me. I'm going to make because ticket prices are going to be out of this world, let alone everything else. But it's even if you do it one time in your life, plan on doing it. And once you do it, you realize it's not going to be one time in your life. It's just going to be the first time in your life. Because there's still typically to this day some of the best experiences in the world going to see a big name group that you like. What Dan and Chris and myself have been talking about, and others that are still going strong.
I looked into every one of those. I swear. Somebody else said, hey, you want to go? And I bought a ticket.
And I'll tell you something else, Kerry. There are a lot of good places in Chattanooga area to go see groups.
But they're not.
There's the Signal. They don't have Track 29 anymore. That was a good place. Songbirds, I don't know if they're still at, but you've got Tivoli. You've got Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Auditorium. You've got the Walker Theater, which is above the auditorium, which is a smaller, more intimate venue. And there's a few other places. I mean, McKenzie Arena, when they decide to have one there. There's, you may know it better as the Roundhouse, Stan.
I was just going to say.
Where are you out of, Kerry?
I'm in Chattanooga.
Oh, in Chattanooga. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was mentioning those places in particular.
If Kerry's not comfortable getting out in a big group of people, we shouldn't be pushing him to do that.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but
yes, we should. Dan, come on.
We shouldn't, because that's invading his comfort zone.
This is a rock and roll intervention for Kerry. This is for Kerry's benefit.
Yeah, if there was a big concert coming up that we could all four get to, and go, hey, this is what our youth was like. Enjoy, have fun with this whoever it is that.
Hey, Kerry, really good. If you're uncomfortable with big places, the Walker Theater above Memorial Auditorium is a real small venue. The Tivoli is pretty small, and I think the Signal is one of the smaller. I mean, it's probably a little bit bigger than the Tivoli, but I think it's. I think it's standing room only, but because I don't think there's any chairs in it. But
the reason I brought that point up is I am extraordinarily uncomfortable in a large crowd of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you get much bigger than Hallowcon or LibertyCon, I'm going to go hide in my room until the entire thing is over. I don't want to be around that many people at one time, especially if I don't know more than about 5 or 10.
Before I forget, Kerry, are you going to be at Chatacon?
I'm hoping so. My anime club's got a table there. I just got to get a COVID test next week.
What's involved with that? I may have to have one so I can go get my dentures.
It depends on the place, because some of them now are not accepting rapid tests if you have to get tested twice.
I don't know whether or not when I go to get my permanent dentures, if they're going to test me, or if I have to go someplace else and get tested.
Like
bring the paperwork.
When we went to Chicago on Tuesday, we took our vaccination cards with us because we thought, well, we're going to get carded. And we got up in Orland Park, went to a Trader Joe's up there, and of course wore our masks going in, but we never got carded. Part of that, Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's illustrious mayor, and I say that sarcastically, she's the one that's behind the carding mandates, and a lot of the suburbs are saying we're not going to enforce it, for one, simply because they just physically can't, and they're just going to trust people to, well, they're using the honor system and that. But then Lori retaliated by saying that, well, if you don't enforce it and somebody complains about you, then we're going to investigate it, which isn't much of a threat by any means. But if you've been fully vaxxed up, take your cards with you. And as far as dental treatments and stuff like that, I'm thinking it's 48 hours. I don't think it can be beyond 48 hours as far as getting tested to go to have it, like you said, dental work or anything like that done.
Well, the thing is, I've been trying to get an appointment since September. And I finally got one for March of this year, which is like, they should have had everything done for me to have my final dentures by LibertyCon. Basically, I should have been able to have teeth for LibertyCon.
Right.
But no, I couldn't get through. Everything is so overbooked and all this other. Anyway, my wife tells me I have to get a COVID test, and I'm going, let's see, I'm triple vaxxed, and they're going to put a swab up my nose. Do I have to pay for it? Or are they going to do it right there at the clinic and charge me along with the rest of my dentures? Or what? How does this work?
COVID tests you do not get charged for at all, and they should not charge your insurance. That's supposed to be on the feds. They flip the bill.
Okay, that's good news. That's good.
And if they ask you for insurance information, you should not have to give it to them.
Okay.
Now, having said that, I noticed yesterday on WBBM radio, they were reporting that Starbucks now were going to require all their employees to be vaccinated, and or they would have to get tested at least twice a week. They're going to put the hurts on the people that weren't vaccinated by the ones that have to get tested twice a week, making them pay for those tests. I don't know that that's legally possible.
I don't know
on Starbucks' part, because it is, like I said, the feds take care of the tab on everything. So there may be lawsuits coming if they indeed go through with that threat.
Starbucks employees don't have a union, do they?
I don't know. That is a good question.
I wouldn't think so, but if they did, then they'd be able to negotiate something a little bit more fair where the company has to pay for the tests.
Yeah, well, this was coming from their corporate office, this threat against them.
Corporate.
And yeah, it's strong arm bullying, and that's all that is. But I'm fully vaxxed up, but I don't believe in somebody wanting to do that.
Really, corporate. I have to face them all the time, and I look at them and I go, they don't hire you for your intelligence, do they? I have actually said that to extremely highly placed corporate people. And I'm in the union, so I didn't suffer any repercussions, but I'm going, y'all are the dumbest pieces of shit on the planet. How did you get in charge of a major corporation? You're accountants. You don't know how to add 2 plus 2 without getting 16 and 5 3/4 as a result. I mean, yeah. Oh, please, I need to shut up now while I'm shut up. Oh, Lord.
You're getting tired, Dan.
I still have some cough medicine.
Yeah, it's the cough. It's not Dan. It's the cough medicine.
The available candidates they have to select from leaves quite a bit to be desired at times. But it is what it is, and you gotta get the best you can come up with.
I'm sorry, Chris, that was so far to left field I didn't follow it. Candidates for what?
And Glenn says that their
positions
tests
at
are
work.
free from the drugstore, but then they pay at source national insurance, which gives them sort of free medical care.
Oh, yeah.
No huge bill.
They got the national health, yeah.
Right, yeah. So and Canada runs a similar thing.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of the politicians say, yes, this is what I'm going to propose, and we'll go to this, and there'll be so much of this, and it's like they're talking Obamacare all over again and everything, but nothing really happens, and I don't know if that would work here. Really, I know a lot of insurance companies should be run out of town on the rail for some of their actions, but
this is your problem with free or national health care for this country. All these other countries that they cite for references, that's fine and good, but they have significantly smaller populations than the United States does. I don't know how you can stay solvent with anywhere from 320 to 375 million, whatever the final census total is going to be. And that doesn't include people that didn't fill out a census form. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money, especially some of these people needing a lot of different things done for them.
Chris.
And nothing is free. I don't care what you say, somebody's going to pay for it, and certain politicians will say, well, the billionaires, we're going to make them pay for it. No.
Well, like I said,
we're going to pay for it.
I don't know how they're going to.
Listen up. If I pay $5,000 extra dollars in tax every year for the health care that I need, it's still going to be cheaper than the $25,000 that I had to pay to an insurance company for health care that I get denied the first time I try to apply for it, and then have to go through some management maze to figure out the paperwork that will get them to pay for what they promised to pay for what I have been paying them.
But we're dealing in generalisms because people hear the word free health care or whatever that Canada has or England or whatever, and it's not all. You got to get into the meat of it and find out, hey, well, what exactly do they determine free? What exactly do they cover and what do they not cover? And then that sings a different song.
It ain't free. It has never been free. My wife is British. I'm familiar with this. Her taxes paid for it.
I know one thing.
She walks into a doctor's office and goes, I've got a toothache. Can you pull this tooth? 15 minutes later, she walks out without a tooth that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
No cost. Okay? She paid into it by working for 20 years, paying taxes.
And
How-
Glenn's last statement. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mm,
I was just going to say Glenn's last statement, what he says about with England, about they have people coming in from other countries wanting the free medical when they're not putting anything into the system. Gee, welcome to our world here in the States. That's the same thing that's happening here, and nobody can figure out a way to control it.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Make sure people have jobs. Make sure people pay taxes. Doesn't matter where they're from. Make sure they have jobs. Make sure they pay taxes. Tax money pays for everything.
They have jobs, but they're not paying taxes because the people that are giving them the jobs are paying them under the counter because they can get the work out of them 10 times cheaper than they could you or I, who have to pay the taxes.
Then you put those employers in prison without.
Well, they're sneaky. You got to catch them doing it.
You know how to catch them doing it? All you got to do is drive an INS van into a parking lot of a chicken processing plant, and you find out that these are where the illegals are. You go in there, you arrest the people that own the company, you put them in prison for life without the possibility of parole in hard labor, then the problem is solved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, it
Joe
is 2:00 and I am getting ready to get off of here. So I will wish y'all a good night. And
Good seeing you, Chris.
yeah, good seeing you, Kerry. Hope
Yeah.
to see you next weekend.
Yes, Joe Dog, I am awake.
He couldn't help it. His watch broke, Joe.
All right.
He's got it set on Pacific time.
I've got it set on specific time.
Or it might be Indonesian time when we had what's his name in here the other night from Indonesia.
I can't remember that fellow's name. He was a very nice fellow.
He was.
Until next time, I'll see y'all later.
All right.
Okay. Good night, Chris.
Good night.
I think we're going to call shows over here. So
yeah, I have things to do tomorrow, and I don't.
Joe Dog come in and spoiled everything. Kiri, I'm very glad you came in tonight. This is fun. It's always fun when you pop in. So
it's fun to be here. Not sure what all I can contribute to the conversation, but it's nice to chat with you guys.
Well, conversation is what you contribute, and that's well.
Kiri, when you're making something, there are large ingredients, small ingredients, among other things, but sometimes the smaller ingredients are exactly what you need to make it the thing that it would be. I mean, you can, and I won't go into all the similarities on recipes that if it didn't have this one little herb in it or one little ingredient, that it would taste nothing like how it should. But just think of it that way. Whatever you contribute to the conversation is actually more than worth it.
Bill, did you just call Kiri a spice?
I said nothing to him about Spice Girls and
I am so happy I can make you laugh, Kiri. All right.
On that note, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I want to go to bed. That's what I really, really want.
I'm headed that way myself. Kiri, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Joe Dog. Thank you. But this is one of those things where we just have to go. Good night, everybody.
Bye, Candias.
Good night, everyone.